course, I forget my frickin' rain jacket. But it's barfing snow at home. And then the farther away I got from home, the more it started to rain. And I finally caved in, got myself a center pin, single action. Gone fishing for Bernie, hooked me up. I'm gonna throw the camera down these particular runs right now. I want to see what's swimming around down there. And then if it's worthy, I'll come here at first light tomorrow and see if I catch a fish. Anyway, here we go, watch this. So I'm at some water I've never been on before. It's pretty cool. Fairly remote. Won't say where I am. Might be a few people recognize it. But I just hiked along this whole thing. Well, not the whole thing, but a real good chunk of it. And I ran the camera down all these runs. I didn't even try the gear yet because I was late in the day. I ran into a guy. I'm coming down through the forest on this trail, and here comes this movement down below me, and it's a guy with gold pans with him and waders on. So I let out a noise to make sure I wouldn't scare the shit out of him, so I was right above his head in the middle of nowhere. And we started bullshitting, and sure enough, he knows so many of the people up north that I know it's stupid. We've done all the same shit all our lives. He might have a couple years on me in age, but it was a pretty good conversation. It was a really good meeting. But anyway, I'm gonna set up this camera under the tree. Hopefully, the river's not too loud for you guys. You know, I'm gonna get some shares out, get some voices heard, and all that important shit. Shit that I think's important anyway. That looks about level, I think. So anyway, to all you angling fanatics out there that keep bitching at me to get a single action center pin reel, I did it, I got one. I wonder about the mid-range and cost, because I'm not the trendy fisherman or trendy hunter in any way. But it's not a bad reel. It's a good one. It's not the most expensive. It's not the cheapest either. So I haven't tried fishing with it yet. All I did was I whipped the camera out. I can't wait to get home, and I've got 38 casts on the camera. So that'll dictate whether or not I decide to come here in the morning. So, what do you think? Did I remember my readers? Uh-oh. It's not looking good. $10. Bingo. We got a pair. I usually lay this on top of the camera if it's raining, but I think this tree is going to do it. Now, I was making some mention yesterday about what I should and shouldn't say. Give you guys a quick note on that and how I feel about that. Now let's just pretend that there was some kind of real nasty shit going down, regime, whatever, and they were in control of the internet. And they were in control of what all you saw, heard, listened to, and learned. And then a bunch of people got start catching on to them, and they were in charge of the guns too. And let's just say that you started to voice your opinion publicly. Well, that's kind of stupid, and I know I have been stupid in a way of doing that, because if the shit ever goes down, I will guarantee you I will be one of the people on the top of the list to get rounded up because of what I've stated publicly. I haven't held back once in going at it with about as indirect but direct, violent in a way, words directly to our so-called leader, and as well the health minister, all the criminals that I see as criminals today against the people. I've voiced my opinion very plainly, publicly, which, let's just say, possible fantasy-wise, if the shit goes down, guess who they're coming for first? Guys like me. So, yes, I am in contact with many very intelligent people with the same mindset as me, people that could possibly be a threat to bad people. And as shit starts getting shoveled down the pipe, I start to get more angry, and I've made it clear that I will go the distance. There's another mistake of mine. See, if you are going to be a successful adversary of evil who owns the frickin' internet, you're not going to voice your opinions publicly. But then again, that's where we're stuck. How do we rally the troops? How do we organize people to be honestly informed? How do you do it? Right? It's pretty tough. So, I guess all I'm saying is one day possibly, you know, obviously the bad guys do all sorts of shit to people in the past as well known fact. They'll install some kind of fucked up porn, illegal porn on your computer from an outside source. They'll do that to sewer you and annihilate you. They'll do all sorts of things to annihilate you. They'll take you off the internet, shut down your bank accounts, do whatever it takes, right? Depending on how fierce of a threat you actually may be. So, that's why I bit my lip yesterday, but let it be known publicly. If the shit ever went down, and something may happen to me, which may possibly end my life, just let it be known. Just make sure everybody knows. No, I wasn't a radical guy. I wasn't a radical maniac, loose cannon. I was somebody who's willing to fight and stand up for what's right, and I went the distance and I lost. And if that's what happens, if one day I may go down as a lunatic that was caught in a shootout or something absolutely ridiculous, just let it be known that that wasn't the case. That's all I was going to possibly say yesterday, as I'm taking information from close friends of mine from both sides of the border, as we watch this shit show going down in the world today. There you go. Now, let's get on with some important stuff, which is getting voices heard, alright? But let it be known, if something every one day in a fantasy world, you know, 1 in a million, some kind of weird thing goes down and somebody tries to label me as something I'm not, you know I wasn't that label, alright? Now, what do we got? It's a little wet out here, but gosh, there's so many emails, you guys. All right, Braylorn again, titled More Knowledge. Braylorn, basically one of my backyards. Let's see if I can get on my knee. Yep, here. Hello, Steve. Glad to hear you, Sarah, and family are all moved in. You're now neighbors with my son. What a beautiful area. I want to share an epiphany I had, and maybe some confirmation as well. This, I have never told a soul. I was pretty young, maybe 7 years old. Every morning, in order to get to school, I had an arduous journey ahead of me every morning. I grew up in Braylorn. Very familiar with Braylorn. And let me tell you, it was not exactly Grand Central Station. It still isn't. Meaning, where we lived was very, very wild, and nature at her finest. My journey every morning would take me down a small rise, then across this tumultuous, raging river. Then, the hardest part was tackling this god-awful hill, Compressor Hill, about a half mile long with a 21% grade, no such thing as pavement, just very steep and grueling. One particular morning I got sent out to school on my own. Usually had to drag my little brother, but he must have been sick. Well, I dawdled and screwed around and had a funny feeling in the pit of my stomach that things were not right, and I thought I would hang back and wait for this older kid that lived about a mile up from us on the same side towards Gwyneth Lake. Well, I waited and waited, and I looked up the road where I could see if he was coming. I meandered onto the bridge and strained again to see if he was coming. Suddenly, as far away as I could see, a cloud of dust and something big and black just barreling down the road. Now this is where everything gets wild. I could make out a bull, a huge, bellowing, rage bull ripping down towards me, and in half a second I had to decide whether I had enough time to run back to the house, which was towards it, or my only other choice was to start climbing that effing hill and see if I could outrun it. Very few things have made me scared for my life then at that moment. I'm 62 now and I still have never been as scared. I felt ice cold. I started running for the hill, and in my peripheral vision I could see these two big steel-like hydro pipes that ran straight the side of the hill. I dropped everything I was carrying and scrambled like I was being chased by the devil. I got to the top and peered behind me. Nothing was there at all. I had quite a good clear view of below, and beyond there was just nothing. I did ask my dad if there were any cows or bulls around here. He was adamant that there was none. There was no farmland, especially on our side, just an old dirt road. The Hurley Road. Those who know this area as Steve, I know you have traveled, probably can attest to this. Years went by and that particular memory got stored and nothing thought about it till last year. I was watching something on Sasquatch where a story was being told about a family right here in the Fraser Valley. I believe it was the very early part of 1910 or so, and the family named Chapman lived out a ways from a small town. Can't remember the name, but my dad was gone out to work there. That was Judy Chapman, I believe, and her kids, and the father was away. This is when the oldest came running over saying a cow was trying to get through the dense underbrush at the edge of the yard. She looked and to her surprise saw it was no cow. She knew it was a Sasquatch, so she carefully shielded the kids and made their way out and down the road to safety. When her hubby came home, he freaked. No family, but a completely demolished house and a huge barrel of salted fish turned upside down and spread everywhere. Long story short, everybody's okay. Life went on. I started to connect a few things. Why would the kids say it was a cow? What did I really see? Was it a Sasquatch? Did they have some sort of changing power only in the mind of the seer? I apologize for the length of this, but my question is, has anyone else had something similar happen to them? And sure start putting pieces into place. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for reading my first story. Hopefully you will be able to get this one. Deb McNeil. Deb got it, shared. And I'm curious, Deb, if you still know lots of people up there in Braylor and Goldbridge, and if you do, you should ask them. Ask them what they know, ask them what they've seen, because I know a lot of hunters who have had run-ins with these things not too far, like all around Braylor and all around Goldbridge. And just on the other side of the Hurley is where I've had experiences and numerous other people have had experiences as well, right? You're right in the heart of it. And then as soon as you get closer to Lillooet, there's been a shit pile of sightings on the road from there to Lillooet, but more when you get to the last half before Lillooet, before you hit the Fraser again. All along that strip, there's been a pile of sightings there too, right? You should ask around. Ask around Goldbridge, Braylor, who you know, who you grew up with. You'll hear more. And if anybody wants to comment to what Deborah asked, put it in the comment section below this email. All right, you guys? Now, what else do we got? Try again to tell my story. All right. Well, this is red. I'm losing light, and I got a bit of a hike, so I'm trying to read fast and loud to overpower the rapids. Trying again to tell my story. Hi, Steve. I know you get a ton of emails. I sent this twice. Not 100% sure, but I think it may have been skipped. I know in my heart that what I experienced was in fact a Sasquatch encounter. People have laughed at me when I tell my story, but I don't care what they think. They weren't there. So here it goes. You can use my first name if you want. Steve, I love the outdoors. Spend as much time as I can when I'm not being a medical assistant. I travel all over my state. Michigan has a lot of beautiful scenery. Back in 2013, I lost my German Shepherd Lab mixed dog suddenly, and I was in need of an up-north trip to cheer me up. I packed up my car with my tent and gear and the little dog. Fierce 10-pound Chihuahua. He literally thought he was a Rottweiler, and I'm convinced. I ended up in the Upper Peninsula in middle of nowhere at a campsite next to a good-sized river and flowing spring well. The sites were spread out far apart. You couldn't see the one next to you, and I always chose one away from everyone. There was only one other camper there. About 2:30 a.m. I was woken up by my fierce dog, who had been sleeping comfortably outside my sleeping bag at my feet, trying to literally crawl inside me. He was acting terrified. Then I heard a tree knock, then another in another direction from the last one. A pause, then another few knocks. My heart was pumping hard. Then I started hearing rocks being stuck together. I felt like I was surrounded. My heart was pumping now in between my ears so loud, I thought my head would burst. All the hairs in my body were erect, and I was paralyzed with fear. I thought about trying to look out, but couldn't move. I started to hear garbled noises like something massive had put a jar of peanut butter in its mouth and was trying to talk. Then I heard other ones on different sides of my tent. I would guess they were 15 or so feet away from me. The noises they were making sounded deep and guttural, with clicking and knocking like tribal people make. And it seemed like they were arguing or something. The entire time my dog was shivering next to me, and I still couldn't move. This went on for at least 5 minutes. I heard a huge splash in the river, and then it finally all stopped. I'm convinced that they were Sasquatch and debating on what to do with me and my dog. I felt they could have done anything, and I would not have been able to even scream. I'm glad that you've had this channel to share my experience. Thank you very much, Heather S. Jackson, MI, Michigan. All right, Heather, thanks for that. I'm glad you made it out okay. And I think I'd probably agree with you that somebody was possibly arguing with somebody to leave your ass alone, right? But anyway, I hope that helps sharing that. Make sure you get back to us if you ever learn more, all right? Let's get another one going. Titled Encounter. My name is David, I'm 31 years old, married with a 9-year-old son. I currently serve in the U.S. Army, active duty, and have for the last 11 and a half years. My encounter took place when I was 18 years old on a hunting trip with my uncle and cousin in California, south of Lake Tahoe, north of Lake Mono, and just west of the town of Bridgeport, to an area we know as Buckeye Creek. It is a creek that runs from the snow-covered mountaintops to the Bridgeport Reservoir, some miles to the east. In California, in order to get certain zones for deer hunting, you have to put in a wish list of your top 3 places you want to hunt, and the zones are picked in a drawing from the Department of Fish and Game. The year of my encounter, my father, 2 brothers, and I got the Desert Zone, D12, one of our favorites, and my uncle and cousins got times 12, X12, another one of our family's favorites. And because the zones are so distant from one another, they are broken up by months due to the environments they are in. So the season dates are different. For example, X12 is in October and D12 is in November. My family would always put the same areas to hunt on our wish list as my uncle and cousins. That way we make family hunting trips every year. Done so since I was a baby, and my dad and uncle have done so long before us kids. But because my uncle and cousins got a different zone this year, they asked if I wanted to tag along due to my younger cousin not going because of school. The older of my 2 cousins and I, only a week apart, and we were very close. Every hunting trip, him and I would always go out together because we would always travel in pairs while out hunting. So they asked me to come. Not to brag, but I was the eagle eye when it came to deer hunting. I always spotted them before anyone else. LOL. There's always that eagle in the crew, man. My cousin made a joke and told me I was only coming to guide him and get a buck. We laughed, but honestly I made it my mission. He had never harvested a deer at that point in time, and I was so determined. So we set out on our journey, traveling from Southern California to about mid to Northern California, 8-hour drive. But the drive is beautiful, and we never cared about the length of the ride. Driving through the Sierra was breathtaking. But fast forwarding to opening day of hunting season. Our trip was planned for 5 days. On the first morning, it was very cold. I remember the temperature being displayed in my uncle's truck at 9 degrees. And because it was so cold, my uncle didn't want us walking around the snow-covered mountains and hillsides. So we took to the roads and drove around the majority of the first 2 days. By the third day, it was much warmer at about 30 degrees. Even then, he didn't want us doing much walking unless we spotted deer and had to make a stop. By the afternoon on the third day, it was sunny and warm at about 40 degrees, and he wanted to make the short drive across the 395 highway to a place him and my dad called Buckeye Creek. Because he knew there were tons of deer in that area, just had to hike a little bit. I remember turning onto Buckeye Road and getting this nervous, excited feeling because we knew the area was a good one. Driving down the road, he asked where we wanted to stop because he needed a nap due to all the driving he has done for the last couple of days. Naps are a common thing for our old men during hunting seasons. About 15 minutes down the dirt road, we spotted some does jumping a ridge and decided to give chase. With my uncle staying up the truck and my cousin and I gearing up to make the steep climb, we stepped off at about noon, give or take an hour. My cousin was carrying his .243 and his backpack with snacks, ammo, deer tag, water, etc. And all I had was binoculars and my dad's gun belt. He made me take it so I wasn't unarmed, because he knew there were bears and mountain lions in this area that we were hunting. On the gun belt, I had this .357, a buck knife, an ammo pouch, and a canteen with water. He made the climb that took us maybe 30 minutes because we were 18 and unstoppable. We reached the top and made a short, decent descent to a little knob on top of the hillside to sit in glassy area. After a few minutes, 15 to 20 deer, unfortunately no bucks. We sat and watched for 2 or 3 hours, hoping something would stand up from a spot we couldn't see. Nothing. So we eventually made our way down the hillside, heading towards the deer, but going to our right, across the hill, so we didn't spook them. We sat and glassed another hillside for about 30 minutes before deciding we should head back because darkness would fall in about an hour. Between us and the hillside we were glassing was a deep ravine that headed back towards the road. So instead of going back the way we came, we took the ravine route. What a mistake or gift that was. We started down the river to the ravine, where we ended up in between two steep hillsides, but we knew if we jumped anything, we would certainly see it running up a hillside. About 10 minutes into our walk down, we heard the sound of something running in the grass/bushes, so we stopped to listen. Shortly after, we spotted two deer trotting down from the direction we just came, passing us within 20 feet. One deer stopped to look back, as they often do when being chased or startled. So my instinct was to look in the direction she was and saw nothing. The deer continued their quick descent, and my cousin and I looked at each other with a look of what the F, almost like what we saw was strange, what we just saw was strange, because we were in the open and they paid us no attention. Shortly after they disappeared from our view, they came blowing back by us faster than I've seen deer run before. Not in a single file line like they normally travel either. They were dispersed across this ravine as if something was chasing them. They were scared. I remember seeing a doe as it ran by us at about 10 feet. I made eye contact with her. I can see that white in her eyes, when normally all you see is all black, as if her eyes were wide open, but she was scared. After the deer passed us, my cousin looked at me and whispered, "What the F?" But he used the actual words. I looked at him and asked, "That was the same deer, wasn't it?" He said, "It had to be." I remember him saying to me, "I don't like this." And I smiled at him and said, "Me neither, but let's get out of here before it gets dark." And at that moment, time seemed to have stopped. A sudden fear came rushing over me as I stared at something running behind some tall grass/brush. Excuse me. I grabbed my cousin's arm. He was slightly ahead of me and told him to stand still. I whispered to him. Then there is a bear right in front of us behind those bushes. A second or two went by, then he saw it too. After turning around to make sure nothing was behind us or us, so if we had to, we could go backtrack our way out of there. We turned back in the direction of the so-called bear, and I saw something huge, walking like a man, quickly behind a massive pine tree. I didn't see a face because I was looking at its legs. Out of sight of this thing, he asked me, "What the hell was that?" I said, "I have no idea." I remember pulling my dad's .357 out of the holster with my right hand, hammer back, and grabbed my buck knife with my left, gripping both very tightly. My cousin loaded a round into his rifle and removed the safety switch, ready to shoot. We moved about 10 feet forward in the direction we were going, towards the road, and I stopped him again, speechless this time. I couldn't move. I could see my cousin looking at me out of the corner of my eye as he was slightly to my left, the direction of which I was staring. Minutes have gone by and neither of us had moved, and the image I was looking at, to this day, raises the hair on my neck and gives me goosebumps all over my body. I was terrified like never before. I've been to war. Nothing scared me like this thing did. I was staring at the backside of what I know now was a Bigfoot. At the time I was clueless, disbelief even. I stared at this thing for what seemed like a lifetime, but it was really only a few minutes. A few minutes is a lifetime out here. A few minutes is frickin' days. When I come to look at my cousins, I told them to kneel down, so we did. I told him there was something standing over there. I don't think he realized what I was saying when I said standing. When I told him to look, we slowly stood up and looked over to where it was standing, and it was gone. At that moment, I knew it was time to go. We rushed down the hill, looking back until we reached the sagebrush-covered hillside. Once in the wide open terrain, we looked back and saw nothing. We continued to the truck and spoke nothing about it. Not for years. To describe what I was looking at, behind a tree stood on 2 feet, a man-like being. The tree was easily 5 feet wide, and this thing was leaning up against it with one shoulder quartering away from where I stood. But from where we were before, we moved to 10 feet, I wouldn't have seen it. I could see 2 legs, the waist, the butt, the back, the right shoulder, and the top of its head. It seemed to be looking down as it hid. I stand 5'9", my cousin a couple inches taller than I. This thing was easily 3 to 4 feet taller than I, making it 8 to 9 feet tall
maybe 3.5 feet wide. Brown hair covered his body. It almost seemed patchy. Like some hairs were longer than others, if that makes sense. The brown looked like the same color the deer were, maybe slightly darker. To this day, I've spoken about this maybe 5 times. Only my wife has heard the entire story like this, but I even think she doesn't believe me. She says she does, but she often jokes about it. I asked my cousin a couple years back what he thinks we saw, and he says he doesn't know. But he said he doesn't think he saw what I saw because our angles were different. Oops, I lost it. Shit. I asked him if he thinks it could have been a Bigfoot, and he was shocked and said maybe. Around the same time, I asked my older brother if he thought Bigfoot was real, and he told me it was very possible. And I told him I think I saw one, and he said you probably did. And the fact is, I know I did. They are real. I tried to tell some buddies at work once, and they turned into a joke almost instantly, so I never again mentioned it at work. I'm a man of God, and I'm telling you, I saw one. It's hard to talk to people about it because I know most frown upon people that come out and report sightings. This is the first time I wrote this down, and I can feel the fear I had that day, and how little I felt in the woods. To this day, anytime I'm in the forest, I'm in constant lookout and armed. I continue to hunt, but due to work, not as often. But any chance I get, I'm doing so. As afraid as I am. I guess I'm just curious to know more. I'd like to see one again, but maybe from my vehicle, not 15 feet away, without anything between us. I guess I failed to mention how close we were to this creature. No more than 15 feet. Gross. I guess mine was about 15 yards. Not good. Maybe even less. So I know my description is accurate. I don't remember a smell like most do, but I can say if I had to guess or make an assumption, the thing was caught off guard by us and was trying to hide. And then I said it disappeared and was gone. If I had to guess, it probably just moved around that tree so we couldn't see it anymore. Like when we moved, it moved. Freaky. And did not go up because we looked. And the tree it was behind was in the open, with the nearest tree about 20 yards. There was no sound of it running off or climbing, no vocalizations, nothing, just silence. But that was my encounter, so do what you want with it. I'm sorry if I rambled, but I would like to give you a shout out to your listeners by saying, you are not alone, we know they are real. I appreciate what you do for people like me, God bless, stay safe out there. Daryl, thanks for that, man. And welcome to the club of no return. Right? Even though you didn't ask for it. There, I can't lose that shit, right? Oh, my knee's frozen in place. Oh, damn. Yeah, I was thinking about it earlier. And many people agree with me. Probably tens of thousands of people can relate to what I'm about to say, is once you have seen one of these damn beings, forest people, I don't give a shit what you want to call them. If you think calling them a damn thing is insulting, well, it sucks to be you. It's just the way I talk. I call fish damn things. I call my brand new awesome fish, I'll call it a damn, whatever. It's just the way I talk. I'm a little rough, all right? Once you see one of these people, you will never, ever go into the woods or drive by the woods without thinking about them ever again. It's a lifetime sentence, all right? And that's a fact. I was thinking about it when I'm hiking down this river. You know, I'm looking around. Now, I'm going to pan around for you guys to show you why I'm looking around. First off, I am where there are numerous sightings. That's all there is to it. I know they are here. They might not be here right now, but they have been right where I'm standing, probably, and they probably will again. I know that for a fact. Do I feel nervous right now? No. Am I non-stop looking? Yep. Was I thinking about these beings half an hour ago as I was throwing my camera down the water? 110% I was, and I always have. You can't escape it. It's a lifetime sentence. And then as far as speaking out openly about it, like the past to you who just emailed us, bravo, man. Thanks for being brave. brave as fuck for coming out and sharing what you've seen with us. I'll bet you it helps you to hear me read your email to millions of people, right? And the fact of the matter is too, is you know, I've heard some other people, they're nonstop thinking, we gotta prove this. One day we gotta get proof, we gotta get proof, we're gonna prove it, we gotta get it proof. When are you people gonna get off that frickin' ride? When are you gonna get off that one? You're wasting your time. It's been proven a million times. Every single piece of evidence that needs to be has been present. It's not going to be acknowledged publicly. It's not going to be. If it is, it'll be a little bit of a soft disclosure, and that's about it. You see, if this gets acknowledged publicly worldwide, it blasts open the door to a whole bunch more shit that those pricks don't want exposed. And that is why they will never acknowledge this. So to all of you out there who think you were trying to prove it to the world, it's already been done. I haven't a clue why your brains won't accept that fact. This has been proven. And by the numbers that we have here today, just on my channel, we're talking an average, both my channel and the other one, but on the average, I'm averaging 5 million plus views a month, less than a month on this channel alone. That's a shit pile of people. And every single person that watches this channel tells somebody about it. And the people they tell might not necessarily come and watch, subscribe or anything, but they're hearing about it, right? And that's about all you can do. So at this point of the game, with this kind of numbers, with this amount of people coming out and being brave, I'll be the first one to say it if I am, we're leaving the rest of the population behind. We're not behind anymore. You're not behind scrambling, trying to get somebody to accept your story. All those people are left behind us, all right? Thought I heard something again, whatever. I gotta get out of here. I'm gonna be hiking out of here in the dark now. Yay. Whatever. I always tell my hunters when they get nervous, if you're scared of something killing you in the forest, whatever's gonna kill you in the forest is gonna kill you in the daytime or the nighttime. It's not gonna make a difference. But anyway, that is the fact. The fact is we have left everybody behind. You can either, the people that won't accept this can either come running up to the end of the line and say, hey, I'm in, I understand, I admit it, I believe, I accept it, you guys aren't lying, you guys aren't liars. Fill me in about this shit. That's how we stand now. There's too many people that know the truth, all right, you guys? That's how we stand now. We've left everybody behind in the land of pretend and not being able to accept what's true. That's where you're standing, that's where you're sitting right now when it comes to this topic, all right? Quit thinking you need proof. Quit thinking it needs to be proved. It has been proven. It's not going to be accepted and acknowledged publicly across the board. That's the problem. It's not the proof, that's the problem, okay, you guys? But we kick those fuckers to the side. We stick together, as the people do, and then we win. And believe me, we're winning right now. Anyways, I'll give you guys a quick pan, see what I'm looking at, so you can understand why I kind of look around. I don't like being below. When it comes to hunting or war, whoever's above wins, right? So I'm not really a big fan of being below, but this is what I'm looking at, all right? All right, so now I'll show you, hold on a minute. Now I'll show you down the river.
So there you go. That's why I'm looking up every once in a while. I just do. It's out of habit, right? There you going. Gonna get home and Sarah's gonna cook up that rib roll. I'm not sure if it's a moose rib roll or elk rib roll, but either way it's gonna be freaking good. I can't wait to get back. And then she's gonna share that video up on her channel, I don't know, tonight or tomorrow, and show you guys how to do it too. And that's on the Cook It, Eat It channel. Anyway, I gotta get out of here, quick. Talk to you guys later.